So let's take a look at today's 65th running of the Monaco Grand Prix. It's the first McLaren pole of 2007. It goes to Fernando Alonso, the duel to the first corner with him and teammate Hamilton. Massa is relegated to row 2, and it's a season-best fourth for Fisichella and Renault. Row 3, Rosberg ran out of soft tyres, otherwise he could have been even faster, and Webber in the Red Bull is 6th. Disappointing the BMWs, Heidfeldt's ahead of Kubica. They make up row 4. Row 5, the two Hondas. Barrichello out-qualifies Button for the third race in a row. Alex Wurz is just outside the top 10 once again, alongside Tonio Liuzzi, who was outstanding in the Toro Rosso. David Coulthard was penalised for blocking Heikki Kovalainen. He starts 13th alongside Trulli. Kovalainen furious in 15th. Raikkonen made an unforced error. He's down in 16th. Davidson and Scott Speed make up row 9. Row 10 is Adrian Sutil in the Spiker and Ralf Schumacher all the way back in 20th in the Toyota. And starting on the back row of the grid, Takuma Sato and Christian Albers.
The Monaco Grand Prix circuit, 2.1 miles, 3.3 kilometres, 78 laps, that's 4,000 gear shifts. It's an elongated racetrack through the streets of the Principality.
Magnificent Monaco. Driving a Formula 1 car around these streets must be one of the world's great sporting challenges. But in a heartbeat, the slightest slip of concentration, your whole weekend can be ruined in many parts of this racetrack.
None more so than Saint-Devote, the first corner, approaching at 165 miles an hour. It's very bumpy in the braking zone, and your whole approach to the corner is... He's expecting a lot of grip on fresh, soft tyres, buries it into the braking zone, the back steps out, he has to correct the car, and immediately he's in the barrier. A big crash there for our boy Lewis.
Hello everybody, welcome to Monte Carlo, which continues to have a unique fascination for lovers of Formula 1. Well, it's so special because it unites all the things that people expect from the sport. Speed, glamour, passion and spectacle. It's the race all the drivers most want to win, thanks to its prestige and its amazing history. Making their way then up onto the start line. This is the first direct confrontation off the front row between the two McLaren drivers. 60,000 spectators in the stands and in seats, many more thousands on boats, hanging off trees and on grass banks, waiting for the start of this one. It's not all over at the start, but it's a big part, and the Monaco Grand Prix is go. Hamilton goes defensive, that looked tactical, straight in behind Alonso. Massa cannot find a way round, and that was beautifully choreographed by the two McLarens. A bit of bump and grind there between the BMW of Heidfeldt and Nico Rosberg, and Heidfeldt has got in front of him. That's terrific. Looks like Jenson Button's lost a couple of places, and so has Ralf Schumacher, who's at the tail of the field as they stream through the Casino Square, past the wonderful casino there, the Hotel de Paris on the right. Classic scenes.
Of fuel than Alonso, and this race is not interrupted by safety cars, not interrupted by rain. Then all he has to do is stay glued to the gearbox of Fernando Alonso, and he can win the race. And Alonso knows that only too well. He'll know exactly the fuel level in Lewis Hamilton's car. Massa then, a distant third at the moment, closely followed by Fisichella, Heidfeldt, Rosberg, Barrichello, Webber 8th, Kubica 9th, Wurz 10th for Williams.
Anthony Davidson is down in 19th place in the Super Aguri as we're riding on board with second place man Lewis Hamilton up to Massenet corner. Left-hander before going into the Casino Square. Big bump on the left. You see they all move away from that into the Mirabeau. 50 miles an hour here. The rain gutters down the inside. Stick to the track. Whoa, we got someone in the barriers. It's one of the Toro Rosso cars, and I believe it's Tonio Liuzzi, who has lost it at Massenet, right next to the casino on the outside of the racetrack. Here's what happened.
Yes, he's gone over the top of Massenet a little bit too hard and fast, got wide. There's just no, it's dirty as anything out there, and he was very closely fighting his teammate Scott Speed. They're going to try and recover that car under waved yellow flags. That means that marshals will be on the track. Slow down, even be prepared to stop is what that means. So at the moment they're not thinking about safety car. It's a second behind Alonso again, and the fluidity's not quite there yet at the moment. You can see Lewis just a touch tense. He'd made his mind up, hadn't he, to dive right immediately. Let's see if there is Raikkonen just flying off the grid past the Super Aguri. That's why he's got himself up into P12, and that Ferrari will have a lot of fuel on board. I think you'll see Raikkonen in the action, and Hamilton doing a good rear gunner job there for Alonso, and a lot of scuffing going on in the midfield between Webber and Barrichello.
Yeah, Heidfeld involved in that as well. On board from Lewis's perspective, straight in behind Alonso. No even attempt to pass him into Saint-Devote. That's where Lewis went off on Thursday afternoon into that barrier on the 11th place now, ahead of Mark Webber, who's dropped down to 8th.
You want to knock over casino?
It'd be nice working with proper villains again.
Something. Want to check the battery?
Ocean's 11. Bank Holiday Monday at 9 on STV.
Lap 8 of the Monaco Grand Prix. You're riding on board with Kimi Raikkonen down in 12th place, battling with Jenson Button just in front of him in the Honda. This is Honda's best showing for a while this season. It's been a difficult start to the season. A lot of new parts brought to this car and a lot more still to come. Jenson Button saying that on the time we get back from the North American leg, which is coming up shortly, he believes that they will have taken another step forward. At the front though, and so Hamilton is beginning to find his rhythm now. 3 seconds is the margin at this point. There's Tonio Liuzzi. He's our only retirement so far. He's walking back, having crashed on the outside of the Massenet corner, the one that leads into the Casino Square, and a very forlorn Tonio Liuzzi making his way.
This is an unscheduled stop for Mark Webber, no doubt about it. Hopefully this is not more unreliability for Red Bull. Meanwhile, Hamilton is about to do the fastest lap of the race, like he's all of a sudden got on with it. Hamilton is flying on this lap, while Alonso's in the traffic.
Yeah, the rear is locking up on me. I can't continue with this gear.
Well, they've had some problems with their gearbox, Red Bull. I don't know if that's what it is, but it sounds like something in the transmission anyway. Third retirement in a row then for Mark Webber, still to score a point in 2007. But what about Lewis Hamilton? That last lap, 1.2 seconds faster than Alonso. Hamilton in clear air, Alonso making his way through traffic. Of course, Lewis will encounter that same traffic himself in a lap or two's time, but nevertheless, he's getting closer to the back of his teammate. There is the traffic for Hamilton.
Yeah, and he's made another second in the first sector as Alonso's in that traffic. And it's almost like he's had a radio call of, right, Fernando's in traffic. You've got to get on with this, Lewis, if you want to win the race. And suddenly he's just come alive from nowhere. Comfortably the fastest man on the track. And I wonder, whoa.
That's what he does. Yeah. That's what he's been doing all weekend. He has taken some chances this weekend. And it looks like he's taking a few now. Hamilton on the rampage.
Right, Ron will be on the phone to him. Steady, son. That is just a little bit too hard. A long way to go yet. Still another 60 laps to go. But Lewis doesn't. He needed to do a little less of that, but rather earlier. And let's see how he gets on when he meets the traffic. He just took 3.5 seconds out of Alonso on that lap because of the traffic. But Alonso just has Jarno Trulli to get to, his old teammate from Renault. Trulli, I think, will be pretty fair, but you know, you can only get out of the way at certain points of the track without driving into the wall, and he lets him go through comfortably. And Alonso now, Hamilton rather, can see Alonso in the distance, the gap down to just 3 seconds.
But look, Hamilton catches him at the worst possible place, the Lowe's hairpin. That is a very slow train with Lewis Hamilton at the back of it, and Alonso can put the hammer down. They've got to get out of his way now through the tunnel. Anthony Davidson is the man immediately in front of him, and he pulls over to the side. Lewis tries to fire his way through the gap. He wants to get as many of these as he can before he gets to the chicane. He's not going to get past Trulli. That's going to cost Lewis very dearly.
Yeah, the gap is going to establish itself again, and now Lewis has got the swimming back and the swimming pool. Keep your head in there because you can pick up some understeer, and has he seen him coming? Come on, Jarno, get out of the way. He got completely out of the way for Fernando, but he certainly wasn't helpful there to Lewis Hamilton.
That cost Lewis Hamilton 3 seconds, that middle sector alone. compared to teammate Alonso, who is now putting the hammer down. He's clear of traffic. He's fastest man of anybody in Sector 2 and Sector 3. He's released like a cork from a champagne bottle, and he's trying to get away and re-establish that lead over Hamilton. Look at this again, Martin.
Yeah, it's good stuff from Lewis. He put his car there without committing himself. Whoa, Alonso absolutely sideways on the way into the swimming pool. He's about to smash the fastest lap of the race, and he's been given the information. Lewis is coming back at you, and well, both McLarens on the ragged edge, and the team, they've got the race in their pocket if they want, although Massa's not that far. A 1:15.7 for Alonso. It's kind of, okay guys, that's what I can do. What are you going to do about Lewis? Well, because I've got him covered, so you need to call him off. I suspect that's the message he's just sent to the team.
And Fisichella becomes the first man amongst the front runners to make a pit stop.
Yeah, Hamilton just nibbled another 3/10 out of Alonso's lead, though. It's 5.5 at the moment. Fisichella, the first to blink, really. I think it suggests he was quite light on the grid, but he's in a very solid 4th place. And Rosberg pits for Williams at the same time.
Well, he's been tucked up behind Nick Heidfeld since the start as Fisichella comes back out, racing against the BMW of Nick Heidfeld, who just gets in front of him, and that's critical because Heidfeld has a few more laps of fuel in this car. That is exactly not what Fisichella and the Renault team wanted. Alonso comes up to lap 13th place man David Coulthard, so already in this opening stint of the Grand Prix, he's got through the field to that extent. Such is the speed advantage of this McLaren. Coulthard will have to get out of his way, and he does so, and through goes Alonso. Hamilton now is 4.2 seconds behind him. He took a second out of Alonso on that lap. Hamilton pushing very, very hard as we run up to the first round of pit stops here.
And that's exactly what it's about, the first round of pit stops. And Lewis knows if he's going to get the high ground, take the lead of the Grand Prix, those critical 4 laps, we think he's got in extra fuel. He needs to turn those into a second lap advantage while Alonso is fat with fuel and getting up to speed.
Now then, into the pits comes your race leader, Fernando Alonso. This is a very important time for Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari are ready also for Felipe Massa. This is lap 26 of the Grand Prix, more or less when we expected it. The question now is how many more laps of fuel does Lewis Hamilton have, and can he take the advantage? Back out onto the racetrack goes Fernando Alonso. This is this clear track I was talking about earlier that's been created by the enormous gap between Fisichella and Nick Heidfeld. That's good news for Alonso. He'll be able to push hard, so will Massa, who has made his stop at the same time. But where is Hamilton, and how hard is he going?
Soft tyres for Massa again then at this stop. And, well, soft tyres anyway, and I'm surprised at that. I'm surprised that they've gone onto those tyres for this phase of the Grand Prix. So Alonso and Massa out. Not for the first time this year we say Lewis Hamilton leads the Grand Prix. It's lap 27. This is a 3-horse race in many respects now between the 2 McLarens and the Ferrari of Massa. Where will Raikkonen come in? Obviously he would have started the race almost full of fuel, I'd imagine, and he'll come into play later on in the Grand Prix, but at the moment they're now 9 and 10. And this is Lewis getting very wide in Rascasse, but getting away with it. Went in deep, too deep on the brakes, and hooked it up. And as we've seen so often, he's got a way of, like Michael Schumacher, just keeping forward momentum.
So what Hamilton can do is put a bit more fuel in at this stop and try and go longer again in the second stint and try and make the difference then. Tactically then, he does have the advantage, but speed-wise, the advantage lies with Alonso at the present time. He's not done enough. It's just 15 seconds, the margin, as he comes in, and Ted Kravitz is there.
Yeah, but he's still not happy with the car. He feels he can go faster, and he's told his team to take some pressure out of the rear tyres. So just before this, I caught a glimpse. They took some pressure out of the rear tyres, so a bit of oversteer. Nice stop, though, by the McLaren boys for Lewis. Let's see what he can do in this stint.
He goes back out on the racetrack. Fernando Alonso will probably certainly have gone through. Can't really tell from that camera angle. He certainly should have done. You need around 20 seconds here to make a pit stop. That's what your lost time is. And that's that nice bit of empty track for Hamilton to put the hammer down in now. Let's see when it all settles down what the margin is between the two of them.
I sort of half expected to see Alonso in the picture, and I'm a little bit confused as to why he's presumably so far ahead. There he is. So Alonso's outlap and just everything about that phase was even better than we thought. I thought Lewis would be just 2 or 3 seconds behind him when that all played out, but he's not. He's a bit more.
Okay, I think I'm losing parts of the front wing.
Yeah, he can feel that. It's just not gripping at the front. The front wing looks like it's sort of falling apart rather than it's been whacked against the wall.
Jenson Button in a points-paying position for the first time this year, in 7th. And where is he going to feed back out again relative to teammate Barrichello? My guess is a place or 2 behind him. Behind Barrichello, we've got Rosberg and Coulthard. Rosberg's lost ground as a result of his strategy. There goes Rubens Barrichello. Button tucks in behind him. So that puts him back out in 11th place. Alonso now then, 7.5 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton as we work around lap 44 of the 78 laps here. Massa half a minute behind in 3rd as Coulthard pits and they go to work on that front wing. New one for him.
I think what they did was they simply took the extra aero piece off and cranked him a couple of turns of the main aileron on to try to compensate. A little bit of finger in the air job there in terms of guesstimation of how much to turn that, I'd imagine, but Coulthard should find that better. He's got the soft tyres on.
Amazingly swoopy nowadays, the bodywork of these cars. The aerodynamics are so important, as Jarno Trulli in the Toyota. And that's a piece of the wing you can see elegantly being removed.
I think it was a piece of lollipop, was it?
It was a piece of lollipop, was it? Anyway, Coulthard's back out on track. Alonso's leading by 7.5 seconds from Lewis Hamilton. Alonso just set the fastest middle sector of anybody so far. He's lapping in the mid 1 minute 15s. The pace is absolutely relentless here. The 2 McLaren guys, a new fastest lap for Fernando Alonso, 1:15.2 at this stage of the Grand Prix. Shows you just how hard he's trying, and he's trying to break Lewis Hamilton, who's now 9 seconds behind him, and at this moment he may well just have done that. Massa 3rd, Fisichella 4th, Kubica 5th and Wirtz 6th.
In business, the only way to survive is to trust your instincts, not your competitors. With passion, determination and some good advice, you'll not just survive, you'll thrive.
Tycoon, coming soon to STV.
This is lap 47 of the Monaco Grand Prix. If the conditions stay like they are at the moment, so it doesn't look as though it's going to rain, which is a great relief. And if the positions stay as they are at the moment, then Alonso in the lead and Hamilton second means that in the championship they will be tied on points, but Alonso will be the championship leader by virtue of having Alonso again to resume the lead. And it'll be interesting to see whether they're allowed to race each other to the flag or whether that's it now. Back out goes Hamilton in 2nd place.
That pit exit really does look tricky, doesn't it? It's so tight through there, and they must not cross the yellow line, otherwise they'll be receiving a drive-through penalty. It's lap 54 then. Alonso resumes the lead, and surely now McLaren will call it off.
So Alonso leading, Hamilton 2nd, Massa 3rd, Fisichella 4th, Kubica 5th, Heidfeld in 6th place, Wirtz is 7th, and 8th Barrichello. In comes Massa, turn out of front wing for the 3rd place man. A bit slow on getting the front tyres off, getting the jack up. Another set of super softs. Tek Kravitz, what do you got?
Yeah, it was the quick release mechanism on the front jack. The Ferrari front jack man put it under the front wing and pulled the quick release, and the car went down on the floor again. The guys with the guns are trying to get the tyres off and they can't because it's on the deck, so little mistake there.
Adrian Sutil stopped out on the racetrack. Remarkably few retirements in this race. We lost Mark Webber to a combination of problems, some of which were gearbox related. Antonio Liuzzi, who crashed in the opening lap of this race. And Sutil, he's not a particularly dangerous place, I don't think, is he?
It's the inside of Casino Square. Marshall's there doing a great job. If you fancy being a marshal, if you want to be close to motorsport but you're not like to be a driver, now he's hit the barrier on the way like Liuzzi did earlier on, and then just creeps around the inside of Casino Square, and an unforced error there, and he will park it just around the next. He should have probably left it there, although actually it's an easier place for them to clear that. But if you fancy getting involved in motorsport and you want to be a marshal, clock on to the websites and go and have a bit of training. It is one of the best seats in the house.
20 laps separate McLaren from their 14th victory in Monte Carlo as a constructor. They are running a 1-2 here with Fernando Alonso in front of Lewis Hamilton. That is how close it is with 20 laps to go. Felipe Massa is a long way back in 4th place in the World Championship on 22 points, 8 points behind Lewis Hamilton. And he's going to be dropping more here to Alonso, Hamilton and teammate Massa, and needs to be careful he doesn't drop out of the reckoning for the championship early on. Lewis really struggling to get the car into that chicane.
It's lap 65, Hamilton 1.7 adrift now.
That's the top 8 in the closing stages then of this Monaco Grand Prix. Kubica is going slowly though. He's 3 seconds on that lap slower than the cars around him. And it's the 17th of Alonso's career. He wins in Monte Carlo, his 2nd victory of the season. It's another 2nd place for Lewis Hamilton. Terrific performance by him. And my 5-year-old son said to me when I got back from Barcelona, "Dad, I don't think Lewis is any good." "Why not, son?" I said, "Because he never wins, he always finishes 2nd. I tried to explain, but I'm sure one day Lewis's chance will come, because he put up a great fight here but just fell short. Alonso is your race winner.
And back-to-back victories, of course, having changed chassis as well, just for good measure. He lapped the Renault he stepped out of last year and pretty much had this race under control, didn't he? From halfway around the first lap, he appeared to be quicker, simply quicker. His car looked beautifully balanced. And, well, Anthony, you're 5 races into your son. He leads the World Championship on points. But I think it's a measure of where they expect to be now, that he looked extremely disappointed, didn't he?
Yeah.
That I really think the Hamiltons came here thinking they could and should win this Grand Prix, but Alonso had an answer for everything.
Coulthard has probably run out of fuel there, just on the run down to the Tabac corner. And the unique privilege of the podium men at Monaco, that they can park their cars on the track and collect their trophy from Prince Albert on this very special podium. Well, they say that a win at Monaco is worth half a world championship in terms of prestige, but this is a tough, pragmatic battle between professionals at the very top of their game. Hamilton and Alonso leave Monaco tied on points in the World Championship as we head to the North American doubleheader. A great win for Alonso, and Lewis, he needs to find just a little bit more.
We were cruising from lap 10 really. It was an effortless race and tremendous discipline from both drivers. A couple of small problems but nothing serious, but either of the drivers could have won. Don't know what the true pace was, but it was a lot quicker than we went.
You know, when you hear they tell you to possibly slow down or to keep the gap, obviously to look after the car. You know, I'm a racer. I'll keep pushing right into the end, and sometimes it can be dangerous in this sport. You know, you keep on pushing. At the end of the day, we need to finish the race, and so I made sure I brought the car home in second. But you know, I could really see the win there, but it was extremely tough.
It was more after the second stop that we were first and second, and they told us what we should do in terms of target lap time and what we need to bring this 1 and 2 back to home safe enough. I think until the second stop was more or less, in a way, quite free.
The pace was not there today, and we just tried to do the best out of the problems we had today. I think the third place was the best we could manage in a difficult race like that, so I'm quite happy because of that.
It just wasn't my weekend, so you know, keep pushing, keep fighting. I'm still at the top of the championship, and keep watching. I'll be there for the next race.
The Monaco Grand Prix of dominant authority from McLaren and especially from Fernando Alonso. Hamilton had hope for victory, but his fourth straight second place was the next best thing, and certainly the best thing for the team. Felipe Massa a distant third for Ferrari. All the rest were lapped, including Fisichella in fourth, Kubica, who got up to fifth, Heidfeld, Wirtz, and Kimi Raikkonen, who battled his way up the grid from 16th. They complete the point scorers. And Hamilton still goes to the next round in Montreal with at least a point share of the World Championship lead, but Alonso heads things by virtue of his 2 race victories. Felipe Massa stays in touch, but Kimi Raikkonen is certainly losing ground. 15 points adrift. And such a good day for McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. A 1-2 has now given them a 20-point